From Kansas State University, this is Agriculture Today. Eric Atkinson with you. Coming up today, K-State's Robin Reid with the details on two new K-State online courses for you farmers and ranchers that cover economic risk management and farm financial management. These are great sessions that can be completed at one's own pace. Also, K-State has been honoring this week its 2022 Alumni Fellows, and we'll be visiting with the Alumni Fellow for K-State's Global Campus, through which she earned her master's degree in agribusiness, leading to her launching her own successful winery based in Wichita. You'll meet Jennifer McDonald. And on this week's horticulture segment, K-State's Raymond Cloyd responds to early questions he's been getting about numerous landscape insect pests. All that here on Agriculture Today. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and welcome. We begin today by letting you producers know, farmers and ranchers alike, about opportunities to sharpen your management through a pair of special informational sessions by the Agricultural Economics Department here at K-State. Robin Reid is with us once more, K-State agricultural economist, very much instrumental in these two presentations that Robin should be of great value to producers. One is on risk management on the farm, the other finances on the farm. These are online classes coming up, you say.
Well, and they're actually available right now. So both these classes are on demand. So you register, you can watch the short videos, do the hands-on activities or homeworks at your own pace. Once you register, you have 6 months to complete the class. But really, both classes, what we recommend is just doing a little bit each night for a couple weeks and just kind of keeping at it. That's plenty of time to cover the class, but you do have 6 months from the time you register. And both these classes, really what we're getting after is just providing a good broad range of information on the topic of risk management or finances. And really, instead of just talking theoretically about different concepts, what we're focusing on is what producers need to know actually on the farm operation, managing the farm operation, and then working with a case farm to help them practice the things we're talking about. So our goal is that they can take this class, take these concepts, and just directly apply it to their own operation.
It'll be highly applicable. You've had that intent all along here. Let's break these down and what they'll be presenting in specific. That risk management on the farm series of sessions online, that's actually a spin-off of a previous effort that you and K-State's Lavelle Windsor conducted, right?
Yeah, so Lavelle and I, she's a farm analyst here at K-State. Her and I have partnered on both of these classes. And risk management on the farm is a series of meetings that we did January, February this year. And those were held at 26 locations across the state. We had 340 participants in those in-person sessions. And what we did is just turn that into, as I said before, an online on-demand class. We know when that started, there was a lot of COVID issues. People weren't comfortable coming to a face-to-face meeting, or maybe one of those locations was just not close enough to make it feasible to get there. So now that same exact material is available in this online class, same hands-on activities. And really, I think this is a great format for anyone that missed that series to go ahead and participate and get that information.
And it consists of 4 lessons, as you described them, and those will get into what directly?
Well, so we strategically put them in this order. The first session is talking about your cost of production, so an enterprise budget. What are the different costs going into, in our example, we use corn throughout, just as the case farm. So what are all the costs that are going to go into a per acre corn crop? And then from there, what is your anticipated price, your anticipated yield, and what's your bottom line return? Really, this information is helpful as you go along, just, for one, knowing that cost structure. What is my per bushel cost of producing this corn as I'm starting to make insurance decisions, which is the second lesson, crop marketing, which is the third lesson, and then even our fourth lesson on farm programs, choosing between ARC and PLC. That's setting the stage for all those later sessions.
And those will obviously get into the weeds, if you will, on the respective topics: crop insurance, marketing, strategies and approaches, and participation in ARC or PLC.
Yeah, obviously crop insurance is huge this year. We have high risks with these high prices. All of our input costs being more this year, and putting in a very expensive crop with the uncertainties of weather and the dryness and, what we're going to have in the end. So looking at crop insurance decisions, obviously the deadline is passed for this year, but, knowing next year, maybe some things you should look at when making that decision. Crop marketing, huge right now. We have some wonderful opportunities with these prices to still lock in a profit, even with some of our fertilizer chemicals, some of our input costs right now. So talking about some strategies to forward price or hedge or some of those kind of things, as we're in a favorable environment now to do that. So that is a huge lesson in that class. And then, as I mentioned, that ARC PLC, we'll be making that decision again next year. So always something to look at every year as well as a risk management tool.
Need to note that you've also provided a specific lesson under this umbrella for cow-calf producers on risk management, and that's an option here.
Yeah, so what I've been talking about so far is fairly row crop specific, corn, grain, sorghum, wheat, soybeans is kind of what we're focusing on there. But we wanted to come back. We know cow-calf operations are quite numerous in our state and very important to our economy. And so talking about risk management in that kind of enterprise. And so basically looking at cost of production, how much does it take to produce one calf or per hundredweight? And then using that to do kind of the same thing. What are some marketing strategies? How do you look at insurance products? LRP, livestock risk protection, has a lot bigger cost share on that premium than it used to. With these high cattle prices, might be a really good product to look at. And then talking about pasture, forage, and rangeland insurance. Again, dry conditions make that product a very good tool for risk management.
There are about 4.5 hours of material, 26 different videos. There is bonus content. We better mention that as well.
Yeah, so one thing we like to throw in these classes is just kind of some other tidbits on risk management that you might not think about. So in that class, we have a module talking about stress and resiliency. We have one talking about communicating effectively within your family, because we know most of our farm businesses are family businesses. And then even one that looks at, as you age, planning for accommodations and different things that you can do. Is obviously it's a very physical job, farming and ranching. So our Agribility project here on campus gave us some really good video content on that topic.
Chock full of information here, and we'll talk about how to participate in just a moment. But we do want to bring in the other online class that's now available for producers to take in. It's expressly on finances and managing those, right?
Yeah, so we launched this last year, actually, and we had 133 people take it online last year as an online class. 2 years ago is when we presented it at in-person meetings, and we had 685 participants go through this program back in 2020 before the pandemic. So really, the basis of this program is talking about how we take our farm records, turn them into financial statements, so balance sheet, income statement, and the cash flow, kind of the three big financial statements of a farm, and then taking that a step further, analyzing those statements, and using what you see to make management decisions on your farm. That might be benchmarking with similar farms, saying, are my finances similar to other similar farms in my region, size, scope, that kind of thing. Or just as you get to doing this, looking at the trends, say in your balance sheet, is my net worth growing each year? Is the growth that I'm seeing from my generation of revenue on the farm, or is it just purely, asset growth, land value, that kind of thing? So there's a ton of information that these financial statements can tell you. I think a lot of times we're generating these for our ag lender or our tax purposes, but really the value is to ourselves and what these statements can tell us.
And to help the participant work through this, there is a case farm that they can work on to become acquainted with these concepts.
Absolutely. And even in that class, we have 2 case farms that they can choose from. One is a row crop and cattle operation. The second one is more of a CSA, farmers market case farm. So you have your choice to do either one of them. And really, again, like our other class, the idea is you're going to learn about a topic, and then you're going to do an activity to apply what you learned. You're going to build a little balance sheet, fill in some blanks, analyze it, answer some questions. And that really just helps you understand, how you could translate and do it on your own farm and what value that would have.
So 2 different classes, one on risk management on the farm, the other finances and the farm, and they are out there for people to tap into now. There's no real deadline involved here then, is there?
There is no deadline. They will be available through the end of the year, and again, you have 6 months to complete the course once you sign up. But I will say we are running a coupon code right now, so if you sign up before May 15th, we can offer you 25% off either class. Or both classes. So our rate for just the education only is $100, so that would be $25 off. The finances in the farm class is also available to satisfy Farm Service Agency borrower training credits. So we can't offer the discount on that class because there is a little more involved in that to get those credits. But again, both these classes, if you sign up now, we can give you 25% off the education-only version. And to get that, probably the easiest way is just to email me. And that's Robin Reid at ksu.edu. Or you can look me up on our website, agmanager.info. You can find these classes under our events page.
And you can't beat the convenience around which these classes are structured. You can work on them at your leisure. Look into these. Risk management on the farm, finances and the farm out of K-State Agricultural Economics. Thanks for telling us about what you're making available to producers out there, Robin. Great work as always.
Thank you, Eric.
Agricultural economist, K-State Research and Extension, that's Robin Reid, who, along with Lavelle Windsor of the Farm Analyst Program, have put these sessions together for you producers. Check into them, if you will. And we'll be back with more on Agriculture Today. Welcome back. You're listening to Agriculture Today. We're going to spend over the next couple of broadcasts time introducing to you several individuals who have been honored by the K-State Alumni Association and the respective colleges from which they graduated here at the university. This is the Alumni Fellows program, and it recognizes alumni who have distinguished themselves in their careers. Well, today we'll hear from the Alumni Fellow 2022 for K-State's Global Campus. And she actually has a master's in agribusiness from K-State through the Global Campus program. Jennifer McDonald is her name. And before we talk about your life and livelihood here, congratulations on the recognition, first of all.
Thank you. It's a complete honor.
You grew up in Nebraska, you say?
I did. So I grew up in Columbus, Nebraska, met my husband in Lincoln, and he was in the aviation industry, which brought us to Wichita. We initially thought we were going to spend like 5 years in Wichita, but fell in love with it, and I had the opportunity to get my master's degree at K-State.
You were originally a business strategist before you attained that master's. Is that right?
I was. So I actually got to be on campus as my role in human resources and recruiting. I worked for an agriculture company at the time and got to develop some deep relationships with the College of Agriculture, recruiting students into these businesses that I worked for. As I was in HR, wine was kind of my drink of choice and started to develop an interest in making wine at home and wanting to further my education and learning how to start an agriculture type business, and knew that K-State had a great place to obtain an education. So I enrolled in the Masters of Agribusiness program. But I spent about 12 years in HR before entering the wine industry.
And then we'll talk about the pathway to becoming a successful winemaker right here in Kansas. Talk about the training through Global Campus to attain that master's. It allowed you some flexibility, you say.
It did. So I was still working in HR. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I knew I wanted to get a master's degree, but I needed something that was flexible. I didn't want to be in a 100% online coursework, but I didn't have the time to be 100% in person. So I found the Master's in Agribusiness program, which was a hybrid, having face-to-face time with your professors, building that relationship and rapport so you feel more comfortable asking questions was also important to me. But then having the flexibility to do some of the, homework and the meat of the program from home was appealing. So I enrolled in 2014 and was grateful that I was able to stay on track with my coursework and graduated on time. Through the program, I was able to write a thesis, and I chose consumer wine preferences and the factors that provide premiums on wine. With me being a wine drinker, I knew what types of wines I personally liked. But as a wine business, you have to develop a market and a competitive advantage and sell through channels. So I needed to understand what other consumers here in Kansas liked about wine.
So you had to do research. You also worked with an individual here at K-State, frequent guest on this program in the past, who is very well steeped in entrepreneurship.
Yes. So Dr. Vincent was my major professor, and we had a really great relationship that involved a deep analysis and questioning of, what types of wines should I offer and how do I market those wines? What should the labels look like? What would the price be? And then how to, build a corporate structure that would allow for growth. So we had a really great relationship that involved, him really doing a lot of questioning and me coming back with research and answers. And I appreciate kind of that push and pull of the relationship because I received that then from banks when I went to go talk to banks. And he prepared me for the challenges that I was to face in the future.
Vincent Almanorbo, a tremendous resource here at the university, as we've learned over the years. So then you were off to developing and evolving Jenny Dawn Cellars. Give us the story of how it came together.
Yeah, so once I defended my thesis and graduated, that thesis really became my business plan. So in 2016, that summer when I graduated, I started becoming very involved in the entrepreneurship community and ecosystem of Wichita. And I reached out to people who I thought could help me turn this business plan into a brick and mortar business. It took 3 years to get there. It also took me going out to California and working with a wine facilitator to make commercial wine there. In Kansas, I was a home winemaker, so I went from making 6 gallons of wine at a time to thousands of gallons of wine at a time, and appreciated the learning that I was able to accomplish in California and the wines that I was able to make because we made award-winning wine there. But I chose the location of Union Station in downtown Wichita as my brick and mortar wine production facility, but it needed to be renovated. It was a 100-year-old historic building that took quite a bit of time to renovate, which allowed me to build the brand of my business, build a customer base, so that once my winery opened, I already had raving fans of the brand. When we opened in Wichita is when I started using locally grown fruits and grapes as part of my winemaking process. So while I was writing my thesis, I was calling growers all across Kansas to set up contracts and get those in place so that once we did have our licensing as a farm winery, I could start purchasing their fruit and their grapes to make the wine.
Was that a challenge to find locally sourced grapes for your purposes?
It was a challenge. So the Kansas wine industry is very small. There's only about 50 individual growers and wineries. And a lot of the wineries that are here have been in existence for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. I'm still one of the newest ones. And so it did take time, but I'm grateful that I use some fruit that helps me augment my portfolio. So I get apple cider from Reese Farm in Topeka. I get blackberries from Big Spring Berries in Lecompton. I also get watermelons from a grower near Junction City. And so it's nice to have some of this fruit that's more readily available. And then I get my Crimson Cabernet from like growers in Salina and different things like that to help create a wine offering that's appealing to the masses.
The foundation is well established then. Is Jenny Dawn Cellars in growth mode now?
We are in growth mode. So as I mentioned, we opened our winery in 2019. It was a smaller facility, so we just had like 2,500 square feet of space. I made 1,500 cases of wine that first year. Now I doubled my facility. We just completed an expansion project, which created an event center and specific production space. So now our facility is about 5,000 square feet. We have a nice bigger patio because people love to sit outside and sip wine. And I'm really grateful that we are striving to make 5,000 cases of wine this year because we have sold out of our wine inventory pretty much year over year. And our goal this year is to not run out of wine. That's the number one goal.
An admirable goal. This obviously is a point of great pride with you having succeeded in this and rewarding to you and all of those involved in the enterprise. You'll continue to develop the winery. You'll continue to perhaps expand product lines. What are you looking forward to most, Jennifer?
Yeah, I enjoy introducing my wines to new customers. So I teach a lot of food and wine classes, and those classes I enjoy the most, to interact with guests, to show them how they can pair wines with different food and create a magical experience around their dinner table is what I find so fulfilling. As wine drinkers, I feel like people kind of get stuck in a rut with drinking the same wine over and over and not being willing to explore outside of their comfort zone. And so in these wine classes, they taste 6 different wines. We pair them with food, and it gives them an opportunity to try something new and different. And each and every time someone comes up to me afterwards and says, I would have never tried this wine on my own, but I'm grateful that I did, and I want to go home with a bottle. So that is really rewarding for me.
Yeah, you seem enthused
Yes.
about what you do. And it's been a success story that's very much still being written, Jennifer.
It is.
We wish you the very best as you move forward with it. And we appreciate you sharing your story, and congratulations on the Alumni Fellow recognition as well.
Thank you very much.
She's Jennifer McDonald. She is the president and CEO of Jenny Dawn Cellars Winery in Wichita, Kansas. And she is a graduate of K-State through the Global Campus program with that master's in agribusiness, which was earned in 2016. She was recognized as the Alumni Fellow for Global Campus earlier this week. And you're listening to Agriculture Today. Agriculture Today is back now, and it's time once more for our weekly horticulture segment. And in that, we're ever so slowly but surely warming up in Kansas. It's time to welcome back into the regular rotation Raymond Cloyd. Raymond is a horticultural entomologist with K-State Research and Extension. Well, Raymond, quite an assortment of insect issues that have already come to your attention. And clover mites, you say. Here's one we don't talk about all that often.
Yeah, Eric, glad to be back. Yeah, clover mites are mites, red mites, and they start invading your homes. We've had a number of, probably the highest number of inquiries we've ever had of people calling in and complaining about red mites in their home. The distinguishing characteristic about clover mites is their front legs are very long. They come in and they cluster around the corners and to stay there. The problem is you don't want to squish them because they give off a red stain. But what we do recommend, if you have clover mites entering monitoring is put some sticky tape around the window sills where they come in and capture them, and then have your outside treated with an insecticide, one of the pyrethroid-based insecticides. Now, what about some non-chemical means? Well, keep your turf grass about 2 feet away, because they do feed on turf grass. They do feed on turf grass as a pest. That would mean they'd have to cross like a mulch barrier, and that could be harmful to them. They usually show up in the spring and then the fall, invading the homes.
Just a quick note, do they bite perhaps?
They're a nuisance. They do not bite, although they do leave that red stain. Yeah. You can vacuum them up, put them outside, but you need to find the source outside where they're coming in from. Do not spray the inside of your house with an insecticide, okay, because of some potential side effects. But you can hire a pest management professional or buy one of the active ingredients is permethrin, widely used. It kills them, but also forms a barrier around the area where they come in through the cracks and crevices or through the window sills of your home. So put the yellow sticky tape out, and that'll give you a kind of a monitoring way to figure out are the populations reduced or not, and then it'll help you to know, well, do I need to do another treatment or not so much?
Moving to what apparently is a pest on pine trees, the Nantucket pine tip moth, Raymond?
Yeah, this is a pest of Christmas trees pretty much. And we have a number of producers that monitor, and there's 3 generations per year in Kansas, generally, depending on temperature and environment. And so the first generation of moths are being captured in these monitoring devices. That tells the producer that within a couple of weeks they probably should spray because the females will lay eggs and the larvae tunnel into the tips. That's why it's called Nantucket pine tip moth of a tree. And once they're in there, you'll see the tips dying back. And of course, if you're growing Christmas trees or any plant, that's really not acceptable.
You don't want to let them go, it doesn't sound. You need to respond somehow.
You, like I said, once you start picking up the adults in these monitoring traps with the others, they're traps with sticky material with a lure for the male. They capture the male, and you figure about 7 days, the females will mate, and then the female will lay eggs. And that's when you want to have like a protective barrier insecticide on the tips. You don't have to treat the entire tree, just mostly the tips. And then so when the eggs are laid and the larvae emerge or eclose from the eggs, that come into that barrier and kill. Once they're inside the tips, it's pretty much too late.
Shield your pines from the Nantucket pine tip moth, and that needs to happen relatively soon now. And the eastern tent caterpillar will be making its presence known relatively soon, you say? Yeah,
it should be out right now with plums and apples and cherries, anything in the Rosaceae family leafing out. They'll form these nests in the crotches of trees. They're very distinct. They'll come out during the daytime to feed on the leaves, hide, and you just have to open one of those up and you'll see the caterpillars, lots of black material, which is the fecal deposits of frass. But yeah, they're one of our earliest caterpillar pests that comes out. And if you don't control them or manage them, they just basically eat all the foliage in the tree, basically is stressed because it can't photosynthesize or produce food.
So spray for the tent caterpillar then?
You can spray, but if this time of year you can open the nest up and let the birds eat them. If need be, you can spray, and it's probably best to contact your extension office for some recommendations.
Well, we're back in the routine, Raymond, so we'll have you again, Mike's side, in a few weeks. Appreciate it.
Always enjoyed, Eric. Look forward to our next visit.
He's Raymond Cloyd, horticultural entomologist with K-State Research and Extension. And with that, our time's away once more. Thanks for tuning in. Eric Atkinson for Agriculture Today over the K-State Radio Network.